Yeah, that's right. That's right. In the
Hey guys, it's Katie Feeney here with the Philadelphia Globe, and I'm really excited to be doing my first interview with Lear, who's an artist out of Queens, New York, quarantined just like I am here on the planet, on the globe. So yeah, let's check in with Lear, aka Matt Longo, who has an album that's coming out on July 24th. It's called Wooden Cave, and it's coming out on Egg Hunt Records. I'm really excited to talk to him. I listened to the singles. He has a couple of them that are already out. It's very cool, like Radiohead, but a little bit more introspective. So I'm going to bring Matt in, aka Lear, and let's have a little chat about some music. Word. Okay. Wow. Hi, guys. Katie Feeney here with the Philadelphia Globe, and we are interviewing Lear, aka Matt Longo. What's up, Matt?
I wake up on my tiny bed trying to figure out what.
Not much. How you doing?
Hanging in there, in these trying times
You
as
know,
I'm
there are only so many ways that you can open an email.
or a commercial,
Yeah, it's like, times are tough, but you should really buy this car.
I mean, times are tough, but you should really buy this music that you have coming out soon. So
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
we'll get into that. Now you're coming to me from Queens,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you're based, and like via Strong Island. So you're a New York boy.
Yeah. Raised on Long Island and then moved to Queens almost a decade ago now. I've just been in Astoria for a while.
That's awesome. And it seems like you're connected with a really vibrant jazz prog scene, and some of those folks will be, on this upcoming record, which we're going to talk about today. What's that scene like? When it's a scene.
I can't say that I'm fully a part of the jazz scene. I mean, I think I am a tourist and I pull people from it that I like and try to sort of fit them into like an alternative indie pop, whatever it is, structure, just because I like how they come to it in an off-kilter way, like in a way that most indie musicians wouldn't necessarily approach like a folk pop song. You'd have a jazz drummer and an upright bassist who would like kind of give it a lilt or a swing that's just sort of, unconventional.
Yeah, I can tell you draw a lot of influence from some of the more contemporary stuff. Like I definitely got like Radiohead and Wilco and Bell and Sebastian, but you also are influenced by some of that older rock pop stuff. You dropped Dylan and the Beatles as some of your influences as well, and so that's kind of all coming together on this new record, which is called Wooden Cave. So tell me a little bit more about the name Wooden Cave and even the name Lear. This is your kind of debut solo project, right?
Yeah. I released a lot of music under my own name, and for this project, it sort of just felt didn't feel appropriate. Like it wasn't really fitting anymore. And I think when we hear somebody's name, you sort of you get in your mind like it's going to be a singer-songwriter type thing. And not that this isn't that, but there are other elements to it, and I just got tired of putting my face on the music in that way. And honestly, it freed me up a little bit once I had Lear. I've always been a fan of King Lear, the play, as I'm sure many of our listeners.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I obviously got that play on words, but what made you go there? And one of the things I liked, reading about this project, I got to look down and get this line exactly right, was that it's kind of formed around this concept of netta fornario, leaving family and friends in search of magic and losing everything. I was like, it seems like he doth protest too much about that. What's that journey been like? And tell us a little bit more about that inspiration.
So look, there's a story. You know who Aleister Crowley is?
I'm like, but yeah, a little bit. Tell the folks at home and me.
Like me talking about the jazz scene again, but like it's again, I am a tourist to this occult world, but it is something that interests me just because it seems like it's this really weird perspective of looking at life where these folks who want more control over their existence, and they buy into this sort of magical way of thinking. And I'm not here to talk about whether I think it's real or not, but it's definitely intriguing to me why someone would go in that direction. And there was this disciple of his, her name was Netta, and she ended up moving to this island off of Scotland, and she was acting erratic, and then they found her in the morning. She had died by the shore, sort of like dressed in a robe, like almost as if she was performing some kind of ritual or whatever. And I think, I heard that story on like one of those true crime type podcasts, like, oh, is it
Nice.
the Druids or whatever, and they turned it into like a Netflix true crime thing, and I felt very insulted by that, just because when
I get it.
I recognized somebody who was in trouble, and maybe somebody who was struggling with mental illness. So, that's just how it resonated with me. And I think it's one of those like Rorschach kind of stories where you can look at it and get what you want from it. And that's what I got from it. And I kind of saw her as an artist. She had written poetry, and it seemed like she was trying to find some kind of muse. And I feel like all of us artists are constantly doing that, where you kind of move away from people that you're close to in order to make this thing, whatever it is, whether it's a painting or an album or a movie. And I think you keep going back to that place, it can sometimes get dangerous if you don't remember how you're tethered into reality. So I heard that story and was just like struck by it. It really hit my heart. And a lot of the songs from the record came from that idea of like, well, making art is sometimes dangerous. I mean, not to get pretentious about it, but
hey, that's what art's know. I mean, now, would you consider it a concept album, or is it really about you, or is it about Netta?
I think I saw myself in her. Like, I think it was one and the same. I was having a lot of dreams about her after I had heard it, and it bothered me that the story resonated so much with me, because I was like in the middle of making something else. I think it was the last EP the very first EP I put out under the Thin Lear name. And I was at the end of any project, I always feel very disconnected from everything, and I have to sort of reacclimate. And I mean, like building.
No, totally. Yeah.
Globe. Like it's the same thing. Anything that you put your heart and soul into, it's like you sort of have to plug back in afterwards. And I found myself doing that and sort of piecing my social life back together, and heard the story and was like, I don't like that I see myself in her so much. And in a way, I did like it too, because I saw her as someone who was trying to find the muse and doing everything they could to do it. And obviously nobody wants to go that far, but the fact that she was like out there on her own on the shore, like there was something she was like a heroine in my mind in that way. So the most of the record came out of that. The opening track on the record is named after her, and it's sort of re-explaining of what I think happened. And then all the other songs sort of came from that. And a lot of the record is based off of tales of outsiders and people who feel like they don't fit in, and they're not always likable. And I think that was another reason why I wanted to take my name off of it. So it's not like, oh, this is all this guy, like this is all him,
So Thin Lear is kind of maybe a character himself.
Sure. Yeah. And it's helpful also with like social media and things like that, where not that I'm taking on some kind of like really weird persona or whatever, but it's just easy to have that mask to as opposed to like, hey, it's Matt again, like it's
I totally understand that. So Thin Lear is here doing it in Queens. I mean, now this is 11 songs, right? Which one's your favorite?
Well, I have it right here. Actually, I have the record.
Oh, very cool. So you did vinyl.
I did vinyl, yeah. So I'm working with Egg Hunt Records. They work with a lot of writers that I like Lucy Dacus and a few other people. And we had just connected, and yeah, they put out the vinyl for it, and that'll be out on the same. You can pre-order it now if you want
awesome
to do that. And I think my favorite track on it is actually one that's coming out on June 5th. It's called The Simple Phrase.
Okay.
And yeah, I just really like the orchestration. It's another song that came from a dream, and it's just like very orchestral and pillowy, and sort of it feels like you're floating when you're listening to it, or that was the goal.
We could all use a little bit of that, Matt, these days, in these trying times, you know. Now, you recorded this, somewhat unconventionally, maybe at many different recording studios with many different band members. Now, what was that like? And if you want to shout anybody out who's on the record, go for it. Or if it's secret, that's fine too.
There's so many people on this record. It's there's one person in particular I mainly work with. His name's Adi Pandit, and he has a studio here in Queens, and it's kind of like the main hub
Cool.
that I work out of. I don't love working at home, I think, because it's sort of, there are backing elements that I can do here, the writing I do here, but like I like being in a room full of people and not necessarily like commanding people or telling folks what to do, but every idea that I have is enhanced by a group of people. And it took me a really long time to learn that, because I'm a control freak. So working in all these different studios and with different collaborators just kept making me see the song in a different way. And even if nothing was added in that session, it was like, fresh perspective every time somebody else got their hands on it.
I mean, that's really cool too, because then you don't get stagnant, you don't get demoitis. There's always collaborators adding to it.
Absolutely.
And you said you don't usually do things that way. So what was kind of the aha moment to get people to bring other people in?
There was a record I made where it was like I was just playing every instrument. It was like a Prince situation, and it can get kind of stale, because sometimes the sound that you're hearing in your head is exactly what the song needs to be, and then sometimes it just sort of boxes it in. So I think there was a quote from David Bowie where he said, I'm going to mess it up, but something about walking into water, and when you feel like your feet are just about touching the bottom still, like that's when you're in the right place, when you feel like a little bit uncomfortable, a little out of your element, but not completely out there. So with this record, I had the arrangements and wrote them out very clearly for everybody. All the the strings, the brass, everything, pedal steel. I knew what was supposed to be on each song.
Mm-hmm.
And I just waited more for it to unfurl before I said, this is done. So it was sort of looking back at old projects and recognizing there's too much me in here.
I hear you. I'm a little the same way. I'm a songwriter as well, in addition to this stuff too. So I'm like, oh man, this is hitting a lot close to home. Yeah, no, it's good. Sometimes you got to give up control, because we self-produce too. So would you consider is this like a self-produced effort, or do you have a different producer you're working with?
Well, me and that guy. Abby,
oh yeah, okay. So he's kind of taking in that role with you, co-producing.
Co-produce, co-mix, co-engineer. Like it's
awesome.
Mom and pop situation.
Love that. Hey, we need to keep those independent, small studios and venues alive. Were you delayed at all in your release because of, COVID-19 stuff? And what's that been like for you, kind of pivoting as an artist? And
I mean, I'd first heard about it. Like we were gearing up for the release. It was going to be April 24th. Which
oh, wow.
It would have been. It was
and
like
now it's July, right? July 24th. Okay.
That's we ain't moving it again like that.
Good.
I had heard about, I heard about coronavirus around the time South by Southwest got canceled, in the context of like, this could really change life for us here. So I don't think here in New York, it was apparent yet what was about to happen. So we weren't too slow on the uptake. I think, Egg Hunt and I, we started talking about it pretty soon after South by Southwest got canceled. We're just like, we can't, how do you, part of this is commerce too. I mean, it's like, I didn't really feel comfortable telling people like, you got to buy this thing at that time. I mean, I still don't feel entirely comfortable with it, but it's like, it has to come out sometime, and hopefully people will recognize that I'm doing it because I love it, and it brings so much to my life, and that's all.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's like folks are stuck at home and they might really enjoy and need some new music to inspire them or get them through it too.
I think it's a somewhat comforting record. I mean, some of the song titles, like Death in a Field or whatever, you might think
very comforting.
You might think this is a really depressing record, and I don't see it that way. I think that the songs for the most part are pretty comforting, and mostly, you probably know as a writer yourself, like a lot of what we write is to soothe ourselves. I mean, it's where the inspiration comes from, at least for me. So, most of the music is, even if it has a message that might be on first glance like, oh, this is a little bit sad,
Mm-hmm.
it is an attempt to soothe.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm excited to hear a little bit more. I definitely checked out the singles that you had up there. Yeah. So what's the next time? I mean, you said you have a single coming out on June 5th. That's the next one.
June 5th, The Simple Phrase comes out, and then I believe it's July 14th. We have another single coming out as the last single. It's called Behold You Now. And
Okay.
the record comes out July 24th. And typically we would have been touring. Now we will not be touring. But as soon as we're able to, as soon as it's advisable to be around other humans, we'll start doing that again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like you've been taking advantage of kind of the new online world. I noticed that you did a really cool stream with Wild Honey Pie. We covered Donovan, and that kind of throws back to how, you do have some of those classic old pop roots. I love Donovan.
And I'm happy that you love Donovan, because I feel like he's an underappreciated dude.
Oh my gosh, totally. He gets just skimmed over, and it's the best. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna like this guy. But like, yeah, have you been doing live streams? Like, tell me about that experience.
Oh yeah, we did that. We did the at home buzz session thing for Wild Honey Pie. We did one on Friday for I did one on Friday for
the Royal We. Thin Lear.
We did for the Portland sessions, and then we filmed this one for Breakthrough Radio, which is based out of New York. We filmed it like 2 days before the quarantines. Like, people were already not shaking hands, and we just
got it in. Yeah.
Yeah, we have some other stuff coming up that's sort of similar to that at home streaming, and it is odd when you're streaming at home, because it's different than obviously recorded live performances before, but you're not engaging with anyone, and it's a final take. So
yeah.
there are people there and people aren't there, so you sort of have to really go within yourself when you're playing to know, like, I just have to make myself happy with this performance, because there's no reciprocity from the audience.
No, totally. We've been doing one every Friday, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, like I have to just sing out, because otherwise you feed off of the energy of the crowd and they're not there. And so yeah, no, I totally hear you. So do you have any fun creative things up your sleeve? If maybe the world isn't back in July to promote the album, like, what can folks expect from Thin Lear coming up, even though they're stuck at home?
Definitely the constant streaming. I mean, I've been writing, I have like 2 albums worth of material at this point, because I've just been, I'm sure half of it maybe is recordable. So I'll probably start recording again soon. And we also, we have a video coming out in August. I've been working with an illustrator based out of the UK. And I think I'm happy about this idea, because it's going to be a very interesting kind of like supernatural occult cartoon thing that goes with one of the singles. So we're working on that. And I think working with an illustrator, you're going to see a lot of these videos, a lot of these animated videos coming out in like August and September, because we can't film together.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to pivot, and also to support other artists,
Yeah, I want to commission something, like I want to, like it doesn't, in terms of like whether it happens or not, whether you're connecting with people or you're not connecting with people, that can happen or it won't. Mm-hmm. But if I can look back and say, like, I made that fantastic thing that I'm really happy with, that will make me happy in the future. So it was a no-brainer coming up with this concept.
Right on. Now, when you can get back to live music, like, what are some of the venues that you miss, and maybe like local artists that you miss seeing out live in New York? Because New York's got some awesome venues, and independent small venues. Or maybe not even New York. Yeah, give me some. Where do you miss playing out? Who do you miss seeing?
There's a guy I want to shout out. He's a great songwriter, and he's based out of Philly.
Yeah.
And you might know him. I have no idea. His name's Greg Mendez.
No, I'm gonna look him up.
He's a really interesting songwriter. I played a show with him before this started, and was just really intrigued by his writing. And I think he's going to do some amazing things coming up, and I'm excited to maybe play with him again the next time I come out to Philly and New York.
Where'd you play in Philly?
Bourbon and Branch, I think.
Oh, I don't know if that'll be here next time you come back through. That's the last bar venue that I played at as well. Yeah, I love Bourbon and Branch. That's so cool. Greg Mendez. I'm gonna look him up. All right, New York City though. Where's the spot?
My favorite spot.
What's your hometown spot you miss playing?
There's a place called the Knitting Factory. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
It's, I really like the room. The drums sound massive, even if you're playing on a tiny kit, and everything just sort of echoes off the walls in a way where it all glues together.
Nice. I've never had the pleasure. Pianos I've done. Rockwood Music Hall. Both have been nice to us, you know.
You know, the next time you guys are playing over here, I'd love to see.
I will. Now, are you like, do you have space in Queens, or are you kind of like, are you losing your mind? Are you trapped? Is this it?
I'm looking at the space. Yeah, it's like this, and there's a toilet in the corner of the room. You know, like there's not a lot. There's not a lot of space to move in. So in terms of writing, like, you know, sometimes you want to write and be cozy, you know, and you want to sort of be boxed in, and other times you need a big room in order to fill up your mind. So yeah, I definitely getting a little stir crazy.
I mean, yeah, because like, you know, New York, it's small, and it's at least you have like a little bit of a home stew situation, and you've been doing some writing.
Yeah, and I ordered a new mic the other day, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's actually the highlight of my week, I think, is ordering that mic.
Now, have you ordered anything else weird? Like, what's the weirdest thing weirdest quarantine purchase you've made so far? Is it that mic?
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be that weird.
Wouldn't it be?
This is,
Oh, wow.
It's a play off the the Woodstock photo with the Woodstock, but you know, obviously the guy's fingers are a little bit.
Hey, put that back up again. Did someone made that for you, or did you design that?
So I designed it along with an illustrator, and
That's
holding a chord.
awesome.
It's very similar to the vibe of the music video that we're working on for August, where it's just like a little bit disturbing, pretty weird, but also, you know, fun in a way.
Yeah, that was a little Pink Floyd.
Right? Yeah. I love that stuff. You know, they have the pig and the
yes.
So you have to completely make sense. It just has to be evocative.
I have a Pink Floyd cover band, and one of the last shows that we played was a show, and we do most of animals. So I used to have a guy do balloon pigs and sheep, and we'd float them through the audience. But
so Animals was actually the first Pink. I mean, this is probably ridiculous, but that's the first Pink Floyd record that I got into.
Me too, brother. Yes.
Accessible. You know, it starts with Roger Waters with the like acoustic songs, right? And then I heard Pigs, and that was the first song that, like, you know, it blew my mind with the talk box and the solos and everything.
Yes. Oh my gosh, me too. I mean, I think that's my favorite Pink Floyd album.
It has a special place in my heart because, like, I know that there are records that might be like technically better, but that one just, I could listen to the whole thing all the way through.
Just start to finish, and then start it over again and be like, I just want to listen to it again. Oh, I love that. Well, when we can finally hang out in real life, Matt, we'll have to jam on some Pink Floyd Animals together.
I can't wait.
So let's see. Just a couple more questions for you to wrap up here. You have some videos coming out, some online content. Real quick, just throw out like where are all the places that people can check you out online if they like your music. Like, what are your tags on Instagram and social and stuff so they can find you and follow you?
Thin Lear across the board. So Thin Lear on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
No underscores or anything, just Thin Lear.
Hey, look, we had, you know, there was no competition for the Thin Lear.
I'm surprised. And I mean, like, I get the name, but like, what's the thin about?
I was thinking about Thin White Duke. You know, I was thinking about monikers, and initially I was thinking of the name Tin Ear, because I'd heard somebody use that phrase, or somebody has a tin ear, like they're not it's something to do with perspective, like you're not hearing somebody else's perspective, and I really like that sound. But then I realized that there was a band called Tin Ear. It was like a prog band from the 70s. I was like, switched it around, and I still like the way those words fit together with the T and the L. So it's, it became.
You still have the cadence of it without the lawsuit.
You get it. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
I dig it, man. That's cool. So Thin Lear online, you have the new record that's coming out July 24th on Egg Hunt Records, and it's called Wooden Cave. Inspirations from Nilsson to Shuggy Otis. This is going to be a pretty cool thing. Do you have any final thoughts about the record that you would want? Like, what would you want someone who didn't know anything about you to know about it? What would your little elevator pitch about the record be for folks who might want to hear it?
My elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I think if you want to hear music that draws you inward, then this record is definitely for you. Like it's if you want to be in a meditative space, I would say listen to this record. It's not ambient music, but if it's going to pull you inside yourself in hopefully a gentle way.
I like that. I think it's a very good time for us to be looking inward, and so it seems like this music is extremely well timed for us to all receive, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, cool. Well, it's been so nice chatting with you.
Oh, yeah. This has been the highlight of my Sunday.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, what are you going to go do now? Relax? Write some music?
Actually write some music. Yeah, there were a couple of songs I was working on earlier, and like you try to stockpile, and I think probably a month from now I'll look back on it and be like, maybe a few of those were usable. So I'm in the process of just getting everything out, and then I'll go back through it later on, start editing.
Good. I mean, that sounds like you've got it sounds like you're in a good place mentally and musically, and I'm glad to talk to you. I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm really excited to hear the new record when it comes out, and the next single on June 5th.
Absolutely. Yeah. And let's touch base when you come. I mean it. When you come play New York,
hell yeah, dude. And next time you come to Philly too, when the world resumes, I'd love to see it in person.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks for being here with me. I really appreciate it. And I guess we'll follow up. Jen will probably follow up with like the link and the timeline and all that kind of logistical stuff too. But if you have any questions in the meantime, just shoot either her or I an email, and keep in touch. That's my band email, so you'll know where to find me.
Yeah, I was looking at it. Yeah. So
I know this is the first interview I've done for them because Jen was doing them herself. I also host a TV show in Philly that's called Bright Star Buzz. That if you're ever coming through Philly again, I mean, once that's starting back up. But I interviewed Jen as like B-roll for a segment, and she's like, "Can you do these interviews instead of me? You're just like a natural at it." So I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So you're my first one for Philly Globe. So thank you.
You're very good at it. It feels bad that you're being filmed. Like you feel like you're just having a conversation, and that's
cool. Thanks, man. The only thing that's weird about this is like the little bit of lag between like I was trying so hard to not be like and just like nod my head so that I could hear everything you were actually saying, but I could, so it was good. So so hopefully in the playback we don't lose any of your gems.
You do you is the name of the band?
Yeah, that's my band.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
that's your handle on everything.
Yeah, it's You Do You Music.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm excited.
Cool, man. Right on. Well, I appreciate it, and hey, keep in touch. Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Katie.
All right, see you, man. Bye-bye. It was really awesome to catch up with Thin Lear and hear about their new record that's coming out, Wooden Cave, July 24th on Egg Hunt Records. You guys should definitely check it out. Listen to their music that's already online and support this great artist right now, especially during these trying times. It's Katie Feeney for the Philadelphia Globe. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
I wake up on my tiny bed trying to figure out what